Hey, what up guys, it's Sick, and today we're going to do the video for MQ2 Ranger. That's way harder than you think it would be. Like the Chat with the Same Class plugins, this one's been in the works for a good long while, and we just released MQ2 Druid, and now we're going to release MQ2 Ranger. So let's hop into this. Now, a thing to keep in mind with these videos, they're always a snapshot in time, so things will change. This is going to go in pre-release. It'll be in pre-release for a couple of weeks until we're satisfied with it, and then put it up for purchase. So, like all the other Chat with the Same Class plugins, there's stuff that ends up getting adjusted or added or sometimes removed that was in there that may be in this video that may not be in today when you're watching it. So there's a sticky in the Chat with the Same Class plugin section that has all the information you're going to want to find. Has information on how to make hotkeys and how to use those hotkeys. It has information on how to get frequently asked questions or the commands tab for the plugins. Some of the classes now have on-demand use AAs, so stuff the plugins themselves don't use automatically, but you can use with hotkeys. So there's a lot of good information you're really going to want to check out in those places, especially as things change and get updates. We'll kind of hop into this. So we loaded MQ2 Ranger, and it's going to spit out all of the class groups, spell groups that we use. You see, just kind of like, we'll run down these real quick. Attack buff, attack hit point buff, shout combo, single target cloak, single target shield, self cloak, shared cloak, which shared cloak doesn't have a new one coming in the next expansion, but it's probably for tier 2 of next expansion is my guess. Protection, eyes regen, enrichment, regen line, fire dot, swarm of dot, wind T2, wind T3, cold boon, ash T1, ash T4. That's timers, so timer 2, timer 3, timer 1, timer 4. Fire boon, DD summer, DD magic, DE AE magic. Some of these are lower level stuff. Like the last magic we get is 59. DD AE magic, we get one at 15. So that's only used for lower level stuff, but it's still in here. Focused arrow, cone arrow, AE arrow, heart shot, called shots, anger shot, DD summon, DD skill attack, proc damage, proc defensive, proc kill shot, alliance, cure bomb, cure poison, cure disease, desperate heal, spring heal, melee accuracy disc, pure shot disc, focus blaze, AE blaze, jolting kicks, end regen, reflexive, and then we get into progressive spell. And then we have some output in the bottom. So I've been starting to add some of these to the class plugins on stuff that you need and stuff that we automatically use. So this says here we have a prescient fleeting quiver. Rangers are pretty unique. If you don't know a lot about them, they get some bonuses to their use speed on their bow based upon the weight reduction of their quiver. You have to have a quiver in your top inventory slot, and it ends up just holding bullshit. Post POP or whenever you get it, you get endless quivers, so you don't actually consume quivers, but you're still gonna have them in here. The best easy to come by arrow are ancient arrows, so you want to slap one in your ammo slot and you want to put some in your quiver. And we're gonna put out in the message that we have a prescient fleeting quiver and we have ancient arrows. If we don't have ancient arrows and we don't have prescient fleeting quiver, it's going to tell you, hey, you should probably go and get these. So if you don't know anything about Rangers and you don't have an opinion either way on any of those things, go and get those. You'll be happy. If you're using a Ranger and you don't have a quiver here, you need to do that. You need to go and do that. Oh, and I just made some gear, so I have an empty bag slot. All right. And then it says we have a class 3 wood silver tip arrow for our heart shot line. This is kind of stupid. You have to have these arrows. They're the class 3 wood silver tip arrow. They are the 50 range arrow, which is the small knock if you're crafting them. Hopefully you can just buy them on the bazaar. There's 2 other versions, the medium knock and the large knock. Those have a different range. You have to have the 50 range ones. These are used for the heart shot line, like Heart Ruin here. I think we have this memorized. Should be right here, yeah. Heart Ruin. Now, nowadays, because of the changes that they made to stuff, this It actually works on everything. It works on animal or humanoid or everything else. So it does pretty large damage on those things. So you need those arrows to do that stuff. Okay, let's hop into the settings. So we have all of the regular settings, just like all of the other Chat with This Name class plugins. If you're not familiar with the modes and all of some of the basic settings, definitely check out the Sticky. The Sticky has information on the modes, has information on how to adjust your settings and save your settings. Like clicking this stuff does not save your settings. You need to use the / command. If you don't understand what a / command is, EverQuest is fundamentally like based on using / commands like /who or /target. I had somebody get annoyed with me the other day because my frequently asked questions didn't explain what a / command is, even though it says /command /RNG space whatever. RNG, in case you don't know, so I don't get complained at later, is the short class name for Ranger. It's not for random number generator in this instance. So a lot of this stuff is the kind of regular stuff you would expect. So we have, BYOS and BYOS custom, burn all named. All that stuff's normal. I'm going to go down this stuff, and then I'll go down this stuff afterwards. Switch with MA, use AoE, use cures, use glyph, use stick. And then we have the class-specific options. There's not as many options in Ranger as some of the other classes. It's fairly straightforward. I imagine there might be some that get added later on, but for now we seem to have most of the bases covered. Used attack hit point buff. A lot of stuff that has attack in it for buffs on other players has conflicts. So the attack hit point buff line has conflicts with things like Brells or things like some of the Beast Lord lines. So it's just, this is defaulted off. You can turn it on. I'm gonna fly in here. The frequently asked questions talks about what to do if you have a spell that is spam casting or whatever, so you want to check out that. Same as all the other Chat with This Name class plugins, we're using what MacroQuest is saying stacks, and if it does, we're going to cast it. If it'll stack and overwrite, we'll cast it. Use Auspice and MGB Auspice. During burns, we will use Auspice if you have this turned on, and we will try to MGB it if that's available during burns. Some people are still going to want to use this manually, try to coordinate with other rangers and such, so we have the option to toggle it off. Use Beza. So the you have Windstalker's Unity, Azaya, and Beza, and the difference of these is the blades. So we have the Vociferous Blades and for Beza, and the Devastating Barrage. So Devastating Barrage, this one does hate and a little bit of damage. So like it does 2954 damage and 13690 hate. The Beza one does a Blade Strike, which has instant damage and 30% to allow your parry all incoming attacks for 6 seconds. So we don't really want to take hate all the time. Beza is defaulted as on. Now it's not just for the Unity, it's to use these individual spells as well, because we check our Unity spell, cast it, and then we check to see if we have any other individual buffs that may be better. Like you may be in between tiers of AA abilities, or you may be you may be leveling up and you got a spell that you don't have that AA for because it's not unlocked, etc., etc. The Azia and Beza allows you to pick which one of those you want from that set. Bifold, this is the Bifold Focus for Twincast. Disarm, use Dot. This is whether you want to use your dots or not. Use Entrap, this is the AA Snare Entrap. Just like the other Chat with This Name class plugins, we don't currently keep track of snared mobs, so there's no snare immunity, there's no like, hey, this isn't taking hold. It's defaulted to false. You can turn it on if you're doing stuff that you want to do snaring too. Use Entropy of Nature. This is like just remove beneficial buffs from your target, so they may have like a damage shield that's removable or some other kind of buff. This will allow you to remove it. Use Ranged. So this is the only class that we have that has use Ranged, and it'll toggle between like here, let's see, Ranger, use Ranged. So it says it's currently off, do on, Use range is now on. So if I target this guy and do that, it'll say auto fire. Actually, it's considered a burn, so let's turn that off. Auto fire on, out of melee range, switching to auto fire. So I turned on my melee attack, but because my thing is on, we're going to go out of range and use that. So auto fire off, too close for range combat, switching to melee. But we're defaulting to we want to do our ranged attack. But you go in and out of those things, you're going to be able to do all of that stuff. Pretty cool. Let's turn that off. So then we have use range. Let's turn that off again. Let's target myself. All right. Use range. Use regen. Defaulted off. Regen also has like annoyances with other abilities in this game. For example, there are like the shaman progressive line will knock off regen. So after every fight, when that fades, you will be like, oh, I need to cast my regen again, and then stop and sit down and try to cast your regen. So it's defaulted off, but you can turn it on. Scarlet Cheetah. This is Scarlet Cheetah Fang. When activated, grants you Cheetah Fang to blah 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 blah. This is a 20-minute buff that is we gave it as a use because of raid usage. You might want to coordinate those or might want to save them. Shout combo. This is the shout combo buff. Whether you want to use that or not, that may have some conflict, so turn off. Use Swarm Pet. This is for the Packed Hunt AA. During burns, this thing right here, it summons a pack of 2 level 19 wolves. Inside your AA, there are 2 wolves. It is Pack Wolf A and Pack Wolf B. I don't know what that used to be, but a pack of 2. It doesn't sound very scary. It should be like I don't know, a couple summons a couple of wolves, like couple. Not a pack. Can you have a 2-pack? Hold on. How many wolves are in a pack? All right, let's go to the browser here for this. How many wolves are in a pack? Although pack sizes usually range from 2 to 12 animals. Okay. All right. 2 to 12? Okay. I was wrong. That's all right. When activated, summons a pack of 2 wolves. Yeah. Better than that lone wolf. And then we have use X target buffing and use X target healing. Notes about those in the frequently asked questions. You don't have to assign anybody to do anything special. You just add the people to your X target and you'll heal and buff them. So over here we have the side stuff. So AA timer 5. This will be in the frequently asked questions, so you'll be able to see that. You can choose between poison arrow and flaming arrow. These are timer 5. So Flaming Arrow does mana. It takes mana to do damage and does a stun for 1 second. Poison does mana to deal a lot more damage. So I prefer to use the lot more damage. If you were trying to stun, or maybe you were in a group that you didn't have a whole lot of stun stuff available to you or whatnot, maybe you wanted to use the stun, but I have plenty of stun, so I don't really need that. I just want the big boom boom. So we have dot mana min, nuke mana min. These are pretty standard for the plugins. Then we have group heal and MA heal. So group heal are your non-MA members. You don't have a group heal. These are just for group heals. Like, what health do I want my group members to be at to heal them? And so those have some numbers and some defaults in there. Let's talk about stickhow real quick. For Ranger, this stickhow, it's 0, 1, 2, 3. I think that's, let's see. Stick selection is 3 because it's 0 indexed, right? 0, 1, 2, 3. So 3 is just 35 move back UW. The UW is underwater. This is just stick. If you're using range, this is pretty great. Like, I haven't had any problems running this and getting it to do stuff. So, you can obviously edit these. We were gonna do some real fancy stuff with like finding a spot around the mob and then like walk around and find a space and all of that stuff. We do a few things like that with MQ2 ground spawns where we see where the spawn is and then we find where like a spot around it maybe that we can stand and get the item, and then we do that. But this has worked out pretty great. You can obviously edit your stickhows. That's the only thing you go in the INI for. Eventually we'll have it so you can change it in like the command line. When we revamp our UI, you'll be able to just like change them in there if you wanted to change them. But so if you were doing use ranged, just go ahead and click that thing. We were considering maybe having like the regular stickhow and then a ranged stickhow. And we haven't done that yet. We'll see what kind of interest there is for that. Chat and I both think that makes pretty good sense to do. The very few people that have been trying this already, they've been pretty happy with the 35 move back as their stick or their ranged. So that's pretty straightforward. So that covers all of that stuff. That covers all of this. Just another point to mention, anytime the plugin says that it uses something, like here it mentions Epic, we use it. If it says here, like this BP, we're going to use it. So your BP, you don't need to add as an add clicky. We're going to go ahead and use it automatically. Let us go over to the browser. I don't know why I do that. I like it though. So we have, please see the sticky. This should be the first place you go all the time. I check the sticky all the time because it's a lot of information. And when I'm helping people, sometimes I can't remember all the details. So I'll go and look in the sticky. And if something is not there, I do add stuff. I don't make it post an update every time I change, like frequently asked questions and all that kind of crap, because it would happen quite a lot. But I do update it very regularly. So definitely go and take a look. Is this a paid or premium plugin like other Chat with This Name class plugins? Yes. This will be included in very vanilla as a pre-release for a short, undetermined period of time, and then set for full paid release, which we'll announce ahead of time. It'll probably be, 2-3 weeks, something like that. Kind of the typical cycle that we do. We'll have a giveaway, a 5-person giveaway, in the same way that we had in MQ2Druid. That was real fun. I was using it for a while, but now I'm getting an error box when trying to load in. Likely means you're out of the pre-release and we're now in paid release. You can either edit your MacroQuest INI to, that should be MQ2Ranger. MQ2Ranger equals 1 to MQ2Ranger equals 0 under plugins. Delete the MQ2Ranger DLL or just purchase the 12-month license. So I'll get that edited, but after the launcher has no way of deleting files currently, so there's no way for it to say like, hey, it's out of date, I'm going to delete this thing. The UI window does not save my settings. Yep, that's the same thing in all of the frequently asked questions, and it's mentioned in the UI video at the 9-10 minute mark. You'll want to use the respective / commands, and it'll save your settings. That'll probably change when we go to like the new UI, when we go to like MGUI for the new UI, but currently they're all the same. Use the / command if you want to save the setting. My UI window isn't saving the location. Same as all the other Chat with This Name class plugins. You just move it where you want it, you close it, and then you reopen it. So like if I wanted this back over in my normal, I'm not showing that screen. If I wanted this back in my normal spot, which is usually like the top left and not so big, I would put it where I want it, right? And then I'm going to close it, and then I'm going to range show. Now if I Ranger toggle, if I unload the plugin and I reload it, it's now going to put it where I just asked it to put it. I want a root rot. Well, you might be able to do that, but we're not going to. Though we are rooting for your success and many loots. We're not going to punt any mobs. We're not going to root any mobs. We're also not going to save yourself from breaking your own roots or procs outside of like adjusting nuking. I don't think we have a use nuke in here. Do we have a use nuke? Use nuke. No. I might add a use nuke. We have a use dot. I mean, could somebody be like, I don't want a nuke, I only want to use my bow? I guess maybe. I'll think about adding that. At the end of the day, like all the Chat with This Name class plugins, they're for boxing. They're not for going out and like soloing and doing weird stuff. They can, and they do it really well, but that's not what they're designed for. So we're not going to really root. But I want to root. Well, we don't use like Grasp of the Sylvan Spirits. We don't use it. I have some thoughts in my mind about adding them as additional on-use abilities. We have a few on-use abilities, which I'll go over in a bit. So you could tell the plugin like, hey, I want to use that ability on a specific spawn ID or something, and then you would do that. That doesn't exist currently, but I'll probably do something like that. It'll help with automating banes and things for different raid events. I want to willy-nilly swap targets, multi-dot, debuff, snare, root, /root, pickpocket, pet, aggro, and piggyback ride. If I could figure out how to make any of the class plugins do a piggyback ride, I would absolutely do it. But until that happens, we're not doing any of that other stuff. I'm the best ranger to ever exist, and I've been playing since 1873, a full year since before the first druid. The ranger model was made after my great-great-grandmammy, Harriet Halfling-ass looking good today, McGillicuddy. Sorry if MQ2Ranger isn't meeting up to those standards. Your great-great-grandmammy sounds like a wonderful lady, but unfortunately, with the classes some folks love so near and dear, there are undoubtedly going to be things that were not done the way that I'd do it. So sorry about that. Do I need any spell components or other things that I need and want? Yes, and we'll try and let you know. You need a fire beetle eye. I didn't list that. You need a fire beetle. Do you need a fire beetle eye? Now am I getting confused? I don't know. I'll double check and update that. Class 3 wood, silver, tip arrow. We went over that. Prescient, fleet, and quiver. We went over that. And you want ancient arrows. We went over that as well. All right. I have an empty spell gem. Well, chances are you have several options turned off. This might be a good place to manually memorize a buff or another non-auto memorized spell. This is especially going to be true for lower levels or mid levels. There's some stuff that we just don't automatically memorize, but we still use them. If the plugin says we use it, chances are we probably do. If the plugin does not say that we use it, then chances are we absolutely fucking probably don't. Probably. There's some few exceptions to that, but none in Ranger. Lower level feels weird, or I have empty gem slots or whatever. Empty gem slots are bound to happen at lower level, and also depending on the configuration of abilities. Feedback for this should be posted in the respective discussion thread, and it doesn't mean it will be adjusted, but under most circumstances, we want to have useful spells up and ready to be used. And this is missing the coloring in the underline. AA timer 5. What the fuck is that? So I explained this already, but it's the frequently asked questions. You have 2 arrow types from AAs. The poison does a proc and it costs mana for big damage, and the flaming has a proc and it costs less mana but smaller damage and stun. So I recommend using the poison. How can I get MQ2Ranger to break invis to do stuff? Well, just like the other chat with this name class plugins, MQ2Ranger will break invis if a camp is set. So mode 1 would break invis to do stuff, whereas mode 0 would not. And camp, no camp. If you want to break invis on a mode like mode 2, make sure you have use melee or use ranged turned on. And if we go to assist somebody, that combat will make us do that. Why am I not pulling X, Y, or Z mob? Not pulling a mob is almost always an issue with either your nav mesh or your pull settings. If you do a ranger debug pull on once, it'll cycle one time and spit out of your MQ2 window all the mobs or why you're not pulling them. Compare the output to the mobs you think you should be pulling, and it'll tell you why. So we'll notify you if you have nav path or out of Z radius or regular radius or ignore. Probably the number one thing is the Z radius, because the default Z radius we have 25 high, 25 low, which is a very flat. Like, it's very flat. Like, this mob is going to be on the same Z radius, and maybe they're slightly above the ground or off the ground. So it's going to be within like 5 or something like vertically of the Z radius. If you're in an outside, and we have the default low like that because if you're in a dungeon, you have a mob in the floor above you or below you, you're going to be like, I'm going to run all the way out here, way outside bounds of shit, and train a bunch of stuff until I go to get the mob. And that doesn't sound fun. So we default it low, and then you can change that to higher if you're outside and whatnot. I guess I haven't been showing this screen. That's not great. I appear to be chain casting a buff or a spell. Same with all of the chat with this name class plugins that cast buffs. There are a few of these buffs that EQ and MQ, like whatever their interaction is, tells us that they stack. And that they will not chain overwrite. And there are a few of these buffs that EQ, MQ report stack that do not, or will chain overwrite other buffs, and you get in a buffing contest with another tune. You either have a situation like this, or some other issue. I suggest checking for the red error text that EQ gives you to tell you why it isn't successfully taking hold, and then go from there. You can block anything you don't want cast. This is a built-in EverQuest feature. Right-click on the buff and add this spell to list of blocked spells, or go through the EQ menu, character blocked buffs. Now, EQ's blocked buff allows you to do the base rank and it'll block all versions. But for our purposes of checking blocked buffs, you want to put the actual rank that's actually being cast. And then there's a couple more ways to do this. So to summarize, EQ is telling us that something can go on somebody and you're missing it, so we're going to cast it on them. In some circumstances, that information is not accurate, or it'll overwrite another spell, and then another tune in your group or whatever may buff saying like, hey, well, they're missing this, and it'll stack. And you two will go back and forth casting the buff. So in that instance, you need to determine which one you want and turn off the option and or block the spell that you don't want. Why does MQ2Ranger make my vision go zoom, magnify, scroll down, in whatever? It says that I go over this in the MQ2Ranger, which is what I'm doing now, going over this. So that eyes spell that we have, I showed you in this output. If we scroll up, eyes regen, eyes of the Senshali, which is over here. This has that stupid magnification, increases magnification by 115%. Unfortunately, there's no way to block the magnification portion. There's nothing you can do about it. You could add that spell to your blocked buffs, but then you would be missing out on chance to hit by 45 with archery, mana, see invisible, ultravision. Like, you really want this spell. It's part of your Azia, whatever, and Beza. You see Eyes of the Senshali right there. Do I need to assign what X targets to watch for X target healing or X target buffing? Nope, you don't. You just need to like turn it on and add the people to your X target. Just like any other chat with the same class plugins, for somebody to get buffs on X target, they do need to be a local character on your PC, so we can see what buffs they have. I'm not curing my X target. Same thing, just like buffing. Target along use X target healing. Use all of your extended targets to see if they're PCs and cure them. I need help. Located in the sticky link to the top of this FAQ. Right here is the link to the how to request help. Just do us a favor, give that a glance over. We probably need more / different information than you think. A lot of folks try and tell us what they think is wrong rather than telling us what their issue is. We want to know what your issue is. We want to know what your expectation and what the actual behavior is. And then, like, because we know how it works and we can go and look and see how it works. Some folks get an idea that they think X, Y, and Z is happening, and it's not really happening, and like the two of us, or like the two units of us, like chat and I, and the person who needs help, we can't communicate if we're talking about two different things, and red herrings take up a lot of time. For example, yesterday in the MQ2Mage thread, there was a discussion about of many usage, and like someone came to the conclusion that if they changed their spell gem order, that it fixes it. It had nothing to do with that at all. So the easiest thing to do is to tell us what the expectation is. The expectation is like, hey, I would like to use my of many spell more frequently. And the answer was, well, you know, we have it gated behind using a certain amount of PC pets for that to trigger. Had nothing to do with the spell gems, but they thought they'd already solved it, and they're telling other people like, hey, just do this and reorganize your stuff and then it'll work. And it won't. It had nothing to do with it. So read the help thing and then just try and help us help you, because we want to help you. We want you to have a good time. We put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this stuff, and it's not because we want you to have a bad time. We want you to have a good time. How do I enter the giveaway? It doesn't have to be red sent to this post. So if you go to this post here, the giveaway post, and click that bad boy, you will be entered into the contest for a free Ranger license. Anyway, so that is MQ2Ranger. Probably today we'll get it added into the compile, and then probably be available today. If not today, tomorrow. I don't usually like releasing stuff on a Friday, just because I want to make sure I can address some of the onesies, twosies of stuff before there's a flood of people who are off for the weekend, all having the same issue. But we'll get this updated, and I'll talk to you guys soon.